As you know, the algorithms are chewing us up and spitting us out. And so I need for you guys to do your part. Please share, tag, like, follow, do whatever it is, and text people that Dr. Gramith is on. You guys absolutely love her. For everybody who's come on to the classroom, I get wonderful feedback when Dr. Gramith is on. So make sure that you do everything you can to help grow her message and expand what she's trying to do as well. So today let me just get my recorder on. Robert, are we still on? Yeah, it says we're live streaming. Okay. So let me start on my recorder. So today we have Dr. Jennifer Gramith. We're going to talk about a topic that is so important and we've talked about before, which is the emotional component of health. So fasten your seatbelt because we're going to learn and grow together. It's time to dance, everybody. I can see you. I can see you. It's time to dance.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough and it seems like your best ain't good enough, if you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning in to the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, when Dr. Jennifer Gramith is in the classroom, we primarily learn about the lymphatic system and the importance of the lymphatic system. And we've gotten deeper into the benefits and different conversations about how to read your profiles or your blood work. There's so many things that we've learned from Dr. Gramith. But one of the things, and by the way, Dr. Gramith is, it's Rightway Health and Wellness in Woodstock, Georgia. So she is always there for you, whether it's telemedicine or come into her office. But today we're going to talk about a very, very important topic. And it's the emotional component of dis-ease. Many of us think if I eat well, if I sleep long hours, if I live a good life, that's going to be enough. No, there's more to that. And it's the emotional aspect of it, what's happened to you in your past. And as Dr. Gramith always does, we go deeper. We're going to dive deeper with Dr. Gramith's psychology background and medical background. We get the mind, body, spirit approach to health and wellness. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Jennifer Gramith is here to do just that. Welcome, Dr. Gramith. I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you, Lily. I'm so grateful for you and your audience. And it's just an honor to be here today to especially talk about this subject because it's something that most people don't want to talk about. You know, we want, like you always say, you want to, peel for every ill. We just want to be able to take something and forget about it. But the root of all disease process, I believe, along with many of my colleagues, is emotional. And so we need to look inside and see what that is, because what happens when you don't address it is it just reoccurs. And I was reading a book that was given to me by another one of my practitioners that I just brought on board. And it was written by an oncologist, and it's the most beautiful book that talks about the emotional health and disease. And as an oncologist, she saw this in her practice, and she really truly had a heart and a desire to help patients to heal and recovery. And she knew that, just using pharmaceuticals, medications, and not really addressing the whole person was a disservice. And so she changed her whole life, her whole practice. She is in Zimbabwe, and she teaches this. The book is
I was going to ask you.
Here.
Wow. Oh yeah, that was your beach read, wasn't it?
Exactly. And so it's healing begins with sanctification of the heart is the book, but it goes through and it shows the science of what happens when we have certain thought processes of what's physically happening in the body. So that's what I love. I love the fact that she talks about the science along with the emotions and holds it side by side. And you can show that through, there's been so much research on the mind-body connection. I mean, back when I was in the medical field, it was just such a separate thing. And we just didn't think about that. We didn't think about the diet in the body, the physical body connection, much less what you thought and the emotions. And it was too separate. And now, so thank goodness that people are waking up and they're seeing this, because if you look at the research, it's anywhere from, 87 to 95% of all disease process. And this is globally what most practitioners think, and what they have witnessed is through the mindset and the thought process and what goes on in the mind. And, we were talking before the classroom about what you're doing, and that's so important because of the psychological aspect of dealing with any type of disease process. Just getting that diagnosis is one thing, but you wouldn't have gotten that diagnosis had you, initially dealt with the emotional trauma. Yeah. And so I just think it's a beautiful thing that we all need to really pay close attention to, and really learn how to look for the signs, because there's a lot of chatter going on in our head, and we keep ourselves so distracted that we don't hear it many times until we slow down and we start to meditate on what we are really thinking. That is when we really start to see, wow, I'm listening to a lot of lies that are in my head. And, I've noticed now that anytime I have an ache or a pain, I'm thinking, oh, okay, what was I thinking prior to that?
Yeah.
Because those are signs. That's the body's way of saying, hey, wake up. There's something you're not dealing with. And so we're going to talk about that today, about the different symptoms of the body and how that can lead you to the emotion that you may not be dealing with or may not be dealing with appropriately.
Yeah. And what you were talking about is the New True Series, I Am the Solution workshop that I'm hoping that you can join us with. And what people don't understand, I mean, one of the participants, the first time that I did this workshop, it was is a doctor who works with patients with dementia. Oh. And many of the things we talked about the first day, he had never covered in medical school, that this was just like so revolutionary. And these are the things that they're not taught. And, and it was like life-changing. And I'm sure that as that's changed his life, it'll change his patient's life. We just don't know what we don't know. And when we start the weekend discovering about how the brain works. Many people don't know that the same cell that created our brain, created our heart, and created our gut. And so they're all interconnected, and they're constantly communicating with one another. So it's just knowing things like that. You start becoming aware, you start waking up, but I must say that whenever people hear that, and Bruce Lipton said that 1% of all disease is genetic. 1%.
Yeah.
So that means 99% of all disease. Now that statistic, the 87 to 95, that 87% is in the allopathic world. From
Yes,
87, that's an allopathic,
That's
not just, people like you that are naturopathic, or
Yeah.
this is like everybody knows this, but nobody's doing this. But here's what people hear. Psychosomatic. It's all in your head. That's not what you mean, right?
No, that is not what I mean. And that's exactly right. That's what people think of. Oh, well, it must be on my head. It's not real. No, it is real, because when you start really looking into the psychoneuroimmunology, you see that a certain thought in your mind will create a chemical reaction. And many, many times that chemical reaction will run down the nerves, and it will go into the gut, and it will create an inflammatory response. And that's when you have increased of the LPS, the lipopolysaccharides, and then it creates inflammation, and then it goes through the junction of the bowel wall and causes inflammation. And so you have this autoimmune reaction. Well, autoimmune is just, it's when you have that going on. So let's just think, if every day you thought that you're not worthy, and that you don't deserve to be healthy, and that you're getting everything that you deserve, that's negative, and you constantly think that, and then that sparks, that chemical reaction goes into the gut, it creates that LPS, and then you create inflammation, and then it becomes a chronic cycle, and then you have an autoimmune disease. So it's very real, and very much something that you can control and you can shut off if you know how to do that. But
that's right.
We all struggle with that at times. I think it's interesting you brought up dementia, because a lot of people think that, as we get older, our brain just gets weaker and it starts to shrink, but that's not true. If you take your fist and you put it side by side, just like this, that's the size of your brain, okay? Your brain does not age. It's the only system and organ in the body that does not age. It matures. So it will stop maturing if you stop learning, if you stop stimulating it. And so many times when we lose our mind and it starts to deteriorate, it is not because the brain is just getting old and we have no control. It's that after retirement, we just stop using it. And so it's not maturing and it's not growing. But I thought that was interesting, because I used to think that, well, you're getting old, you're going to lose your mind. That's just part of life, but that is not true. And studies and statistics have shown that what causes people to lose function of their nervous system or their brain function is toxicity. So if you ingest a lot of pesticides, a lot of heavy metals, that's going to cause an impact on your brain. If you're drinking diet sodas and you're eating a standard American diet, you're going to be malnourished. But the brain is remarkable, because once you start nourishing it, once you detox it, and once you use it, it can flourish and flourish and flourish. You can become smarter and smarter and smarter. So.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I have a theory about dementia, and it's just a theory. I haven't proven it, but I kind of like, as a coach, I see kind of like the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Right.
And as people age, and as people in my life, because I like to observe and learn from the people in my life as my teachers of what to do and what not to do, I've noticed that when you don't resolve with your conflict, and you carry it with you, because, the brain and the gut, the body, the brain and the body, the mind and the body, I have a saying that the body won't forget what the brain wants to neglect. So logically, I know it's going to cause pain. And so I don't want to deal with something because it's going to be painful to deal with it. And the body says, please deal with it. And the brain says, no, it's going to cause some pain. I don't want to deal with it. Let's forget about it. And the body says, fine, I want to be in alignment with you. So I'm going to give you something to have pain about. Your back blows out, and that's basically how once you learn that, it's like if your knee hurts, or if your back hurts, or your thumb hurts, your eyes hurt, you'll start saying, okay, what does that mean?
Right.
Instead of, let me go take a pill, it's like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
And so you have studied this extensively. And so when you're looking at someone who refuses to deal with something, and I had this woman, I was giving a talk, and it was the 8 keys to living the life of your dreams, because the 8 keys to being responsible is not as sexy. And so I had to rename it. And we were talking about forgiveness. And, and so she said, I don't want to remember my childhood. I'm not going to, I said, forgive and grow is what I said, forgive and grow. And she says, no, I want to forget. And when she said that, all of a sudden, if you're asking your brain to forget something, your body will honor it. And what else will you forget?
Right.
So have you found that in your practice, that some of the people that have dementia, some of the people that they refuse to deal with their past issues, and they think that they're okay?
Right. No, exactly. That's exactly what I see. And, just losing your vision. What is it that you don't want to see? But, what people don't realize, just her saying that she doesn't want to remember it, doesn't want to deal with that. What happens in the brain and how you can retrain your brain is you have to replace that negativity with positive thoughts. And you basically have to, when you think something negative, you have to stop yourself, and then you have to say the truth, because most of the time, like I said, it's not even true. You're lying to yourself. It's your perception, but it's not truth. And so the little branches that are in the brain where you hold memory, when you meditate on the positive, good, wholesome thoughts, those branches will expand. When you are thinking negative, they don't grow. It just kind of stunts their growth. And so that negativity stunts your growth, your mental growth. And then you won't remember things. You have short-term memory loss, and you have long-term memory loss because you have these blocks. And so you can look at any symptom that you have, and you can correlate that to an emotion. And so, like I said, I had a lady come in, and she, just this week, she actually had some vision issues. And I asked her, I said, what is it in your life what you don't want to see? Well, she had lost her husband, and her daughter had, that relationship had been affected after the loss of her husband. And then, so she'd get in another relationship with men who, not that they were not good, but that she needed to fix them, so she wanted to fix them. And so she keeps repeating the same pattern and just getting frustrated. And so there's certain things in her life she just doesn't want to see. And so we talked about that. I've had patients who, lose their hearing because they don't want to hear what someone has to say. So they just lose their hearing because your brain doesn't really care if you're happy or not. Your brain is all about survival. And so if you say to yourself, that, if I do this, that's going to cause me pain, then your brain's going to create something in your body, just like you said, a symptom that will keep you from going out. So maybe it's arthritis in your knees or your legs, so you're not physically able to go out of the house and put yourself at risk, Or it may cause breast cancer. It may cause colon cancer. It may cause lymphedema. I had a case this week with lymphedema, bilateral. Doctor said primary. I don't really think it is primary or idiopathic. I think it is due to just trauma that she's went through and feeling stuck in situations. And so lymphedema has a lot of times to do with protecting yourself. So if a woman has been abused, she may develop lymphedema around her abdomen and her hips and legs to protect her from an attacker. There's so many things like that. One of my family members had a prolapse, she called, and she's young and had a prolapsed uterus. And this is a time in her life that her child is, and he's only like 3.5, he is not able to see the father because of the father's lifestyle. And so they're having to arrange, supervised visitation. And so it's very hard on her. She feels like she's losing control of, the uterus is where the baby, formed. And so she's losing control. And so at a very early age, it's prolapsing. Well, that has to do with all of that. And so I thought, wow, your body tells you exactly what's going on. And so that's when you really need to start paying attention to the physical symptoms that you're having, so that you know what emotion because you sometimes are not consciously aware of it. And so those symptoms help you become mindful of the situation. And, I don't know, do you have this book, Lillian? This is a book that really helps. It's called The Complete Dictionary of Ailments and Diseases.
No,
I got it from Dr. Michelle Schrader, who is, a dear friend of mine, and she teaches the recall healing here in the
she's
US.
she's a regular in the classroom too. Yes.
That's awesome. So what you do is when you have a symptom, you go and you look that symptom up, and then it will tell you the emotions. So, that goes with it. So let's say if you looked up hernia, so if you're struggling with a hernia, it says it has to do with, let's see, if it's an inguinal hernia, for instance, which refers to a secret I carry inside, I don't reveal to others, and my difficulty in expressing my creativity. I ask myself, am I sexually satisfied? Do I try to respond to my partner's need by forgetting myself? And so it's really, typically when you read, calluses and corns on your feet, that means something. What does that mean?
What does it mean? What does it mean to have calluses? And what do? We go and get them ripped off of our feet when we go get a pedicure and a manicure. But our body is constantly talking to us. I want to ask all of you who are watching right now and later on, if you want to text me, let me know what kind of symptom you're having. Maybe after the classroom, we can just go to the book and see what could your body be telling you. Most of the time, our body is protecting us.
Right.
People say when they have autoimmune disorder, and I learned from Dr. Bob Rowntree. I don't know if you know Bob Rowntree. Anyway, he said, when you think that you have your body has turned against you, with an autoimmune disease, that's the terminology that doctor says your body is eating or turning against you.
Yeah.
And he says that's nonsense. Because if you have metals trapped in your organs, if you have anything trapped in your organs, your body's going to want to eat it up. It's going to want to take it out. And it's doing what it's supposed to do. A fever. People get a fever, immediately take Tylenol. The body is burning the disease out of your body, and we stop it. So we have been told over and over, and that's why I'm so passionate about I Am the Solution, how to entrain the lies, how to entrain the brain from all these lies that we've been told purposely, not by our parents or their parents, but by the people who had money to gain from us thinking, oh, I have a headache, take Tylenol instead of drinking water.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah. So text me at 407-373, unless you want to write a comment right now below, write a comment and say, what's your symptom? Does your knee hurt? Your back hurt? Are you having twitches? What is it? And then maybe after the classroom, when we have our teacher's pet corner, Dr. Gramith can open her book. But by the way, I want to let you know that when you go to Rightway Health and Wellness, and you mention the Lillian McDermott radio show, or if you call 404-474-2100, and you mentioned the classroom, you get 20% of whatever you're purchasing. And, Dr. Gramith, you have a tool that you used on me a long time ago, and I want to retake it, by the way. I want to do it again. But you have a tool that people can do from the privacy of their own home. Can you talk about that and, say a little bit about that?
Yeah, so now, because our main focus is to really work on the whole person. So we want to get a good picture of how they are. So the Zyto biofeedback test is what you're referring to. Mm-hmm. And it allows me to kind of see the whole picture. It allows me to look at the emotional health of the individual. What emotions are they struggling with? What's acute? What's more chronic or even genetically passed down? Trapped emotions, and how does that play a role in their physical health? And so I look at the emotions, I look at the function of the organs and glands, and I look at the loads on the immune system. And so is it bacteria? Because a lot of times, a lot of people struggle with depression and anxiety, and it's because of the gut issues that they have. So many people, especially Americans, will have a lot of gut dysfunction or dysbiosis. And so, if you study functional medicine, you're looking at the circle that starts in the brain with the emotional thought that creates the inflammatory response in the gut, that goes through this process and ends right back up at the brain, creating anxiety and depression. And so you've got to correct all of those steps. Taking an antidepressant, and I'm not saying that there's not times that that's appropriate, but for long-term care, you got to get to the root of the problem. And it may not be, just one thing. And so if you are struggling with depression, anxiety, look at the gut. And that's what a functional practitioner will do. They will look at all of the necessary components of why you have, depression. And it's not just going to be the brain, because there's the gut and the brain are connected, just like the gut and the immune system, because 70-80% of the immune system lies in the gut. And that's why it kind of controls everything. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's very important to get a clear picture of what's going on in that person. So I want to see what their pathogen load is. I want to see their environmental exposures, like heavy metals. Mm-hmm. I want to see what their emotional health looks like. And I want to see their genetic weakness, because that plays a role. It's a small role, but it still plays a role. Yeah. And then I want to see, just what is acute. What are they being exposed to? So we can correct these patterns in their life and get changes. So I use Zyto biofeedback to do that, along with blood tests. Blood tests are very helpful in helping me to determine, should I work on the virus or the bacteria first, because of the white blood cells. So when you have an increased amount of lymphocytes, you have a high viral load that you need to address. When you have an increased amount of neutrophils or monocytes, that's more bacterial. And so you can see that. And you always want to pay attention to their teeth, because the gut issues will be affected. You'll find the same bacteria in the teeth and in the brain. And so, you have to look at all of those areas, look where the toxic focus is. And that's what Zyto does. I also think it's important too, especially when you have some really chronic health issues, autoimmune issues, to look at the food allergies and sensitivities with the complements, because we've always looked at the food allergies and sensitivities, but you can eat a banana and have no reaction, but then you can take that banana and put a little peanut butter on it, and you can have a reaction, an anaphylactic reaction. Wow. Well, so what's the deal? Am I allergic? Or you can eat the peanut butter by itself and not have a reaction. But the combination can make your sensitivity 100, 1,000, 10,000 times more severe just by the complement. And so you want to test those as well if you are suspicious that certain foods, because if you are constantly eating that, what happens? You have that response, that inflammatory response, and it keeps happening over and over again. It causes the damage to the intestinal mucosal membrane, and then causes the leaky gut, and then it goes into the bloodstream and the lymph, and it causes the autoimmune disease. That's what, will attack your thyroid or attack the gland, because it's trying to get rid of the pathogen there. And so it's actually, you're exactly right. It's doing what it's supposed to do, but you as an individual have to figure out, become your own detective, and figure out, what am I doing to myself that's creating this inflammatory response, overworking my immune system, and how can I stop that and clean it up?
Yeah, it's amazing. That's amazing. Go ahead.
The body is remarkable in how it can heal itself.
It is.
If you given the right tools. And so these are the tools that I use in my practice to help people overcome very chronic conditions. But my heart is to teach people how to become their own doctor, their own detective,
Their own medical detective.
Best friend. Yeah. Be your best friend, be your best advocate, and, love yourself enough to do these things for yourself so that you don't have to, go into the doctor's office and get some horrific diagnosis. And because you can see all of that. If you do these things like Zyto and the blood test, you can see it years prior to ever getting a diagnosis, and you can stop that. And so the ball is in your court in that case. Knowledge is power. And, we've got to pull our heads out of the sand and stop relying on others to take care of us the way that we can take care of ourselves. Nobody can take better care of you than you. And so you just got to get those tools in your toolbox to help you, to help yourself, to help your family, your children, your loved ones. There's not a doctor. I can't see all the clients out there that need, help, but I can teach them how to help themselves and what to look for. And that's one reason I really, this year I am planning on doing a lot of training for patients, other practitioners, teaching them how to use these simple tools.
I want to be a part of your class for sure. I want to be a part of your class. And I know that last time you were on, we were talking about you were going to give a course on how to read your own lab work. I don't know if you did that already or if you're still planning on doing it.
It's going to be a 6 weeks course, and it starts July the 2nd.
July 2nd.
And it's going to be on Fridays. And I haven't got the time of the day yet. Probably
I'm excited about that.
2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But so it'll be about an hour of lecturing and learning, and then about 30 minutes of Q&A each time. And I may even extend that past the 6 weeks, because I want them to, be able to read their blood work, but also other types of testing that are out there that they may find beneficial, how to interpret the Zyto biofeedback. All of that would be included, and just learning how to take care of yourself.
I think I'm
going to do the emotional component too, because, like I said, you've got to pay attention to your symptoms, because your symptoms it's leading you down the path of understanding if you listen. And so if you pay attention to your symptoms, like, oh, I have a toothache. What does that mean? What tooth is it? It may be bacterial infection, but there's a conflict, I guarantee you, behind that. And I don't know, Lillian, if I ever shared the story of my daughter with a trigeminal neuralgia, which is like the suicide pain. It's a pain that runs along the jaw, and it's like you're getting electrocuted. And typically what treatment they do is they just cut the nerve, and then your face is paralyzed because there's no treatment really for that. And it is excruciating pain. And this was a time my daughter was working 3 jobs. She's young. She's like 28 years old now. And she was working 3 jobs and trying to care for her family, single mom. And it was just overwhelming to her. And then she was dating a man who had 3 children. And he would not work. So she was trying to take care of him and his family. And so she had all of this pressure on her, and she wouldn't voice her concerns or her issues. And when she did, she just would get the guilt trip, and so it was really hard. So she started developing this trigeminal neuralgia. She would call screaming in pain. I mean, it just breaks your heart. And so what it was, when we tested her, it was emotional, and it was because she was carrying all that load and not speaking, her truth.
Speaking her truth,
It
yeah.
went back to emotions that were tied into my mother, her Nana's death. And so it all, and Dr. Cowden actually is the one who I took her to, and I had him check her, and he told her exactly what it was and released that emotion, and it never came back.
Wow. And they wanted to cut her nerve. And how many people that I was just speaking to someone today that was having some issues with some infection in their body. And the doctors want to put her on a constant antibiotic. And every time this happens, she's totally resistant to antibiotics now. But I'm sure that if she were to talk to you, do the Zyto, maybe something would help her with that. But, I even told her, I said, listen, if you're going to do antibiotics, like a small dose of antibiotics every day to avoid the problem, just do some IVs of vitamin C. Just do that. That's a great antibiotic right there. And it's natural, and it's not going to kill every cell in your body. We just don't know what we don't know. And when we listen to doctors, I mean, had you not been the amazing physician that you are, your daughter probably would have paralysis in her face right now.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So,
exactly.
I hope that's a great story. And I hope that all of you kind of, sit there and say, what are some of the ways that my body is speaking to me and I keep ignoring it? It might be, migraines. It might be, spasms in your muscles. It might be backache. It doesn't have to be a heart attack, or it has to have to be a stroke. Our body is constantly sending us little whispers, but the moment a doctor sees it, they'll call that talk or that symptom, they'll give it a diagnosis. Oh, you have fibromyalgia. And all of a sudden that mindset is, whew, right. So relieved. It's fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
But what can you do for fibromyalgia, Dr. Gramith? I mean, what can you do for that?
Right. So fibromyalgia is just a catch-all phrase for pain and inflammation that
we have no idea what you have.
Cause of, and that moves around. It's like this phantom, inflammation. And so where it is in the body is linked to the emotion that tied to that. And so I actually had a case like that come in one time, and she was actually not the patient. She was bringing her family member, who was one of my cancer patients, in for testing, and we were doing a retest. And I think the friend actually, brought her because she wanted to see if I could help her without her, making an appointment, which was fine. And so she's sitting there while I'm testing her friend. She's rubbing her legs, and she's in excruciating pain, and I can just see it all over her body. And I said, are you okay? And she said, I just have so much pain every day. Doctors say it's fibromyalgia. And I said, wow. I said, well, if you'll allow me, let me see if I can help you. And so I tested her, and it showed up to be 100% emotional. Now, sometimes it's 70% and 30% pathology or whatever. Hers was 100% emotional. And so I tested again, and it said it came from a male, and it was a son. Okay. And so I said, do you have a son? And she said, oh my gosh. I mean, she just could not believe that within just 2 minutes that we were able to determine where it's coming from. Well, her son had tried to commit suicide and shot himself and was paralyzed, and she's caring for him, and he is very angry and takes out all of his anger on her. So her pain and inflammation is her emotional pain for not being able to save her son. And she didn't know it was in her legs because she didn't know, what direction do I go? How can I do this? I can't carry this burden alone. And so once we discovered all of that, she left the office without pain. She called me 4 hours later, because that's how far their drive was. She called me and she said, I still don't have any pain. I cannot believe this. This is a miracle. And it was 100% emotional.
Was it just the awareness that it was emotional that she was able to release it, or did you do a technique with her?
It was both. So we, just bringing it to her awareness was just like her aha moment. But then we went through a technique of how to release that, how to retrain your brain. Mm-hmm. A good book for that is called, it's Annie Hopper's program called Wired for Healing. And it's teaching you how to retrain your brain. And I've done it myself with inflammation in my ankles and feet, where I would feel the pain and I would stop myself and I would say, stop, stop, stop. My brain is stuck in a rut and it's sending my body false messages. In the past, I would respond with pain and inflammation, but today I choose a new path. I choose a path free from pain and inflammation, a path of health and vitality. And it took only a few times of doing that. Every time I would feel the pain, I would stop and I would do that technique.
Wow.
And it went away and I never had it again. And so it's very powerful. Your brain is in control. And if you learn how to, if you learn how to use it and you use it for your benefit instead of letting it just take over, and listen to all your fears and all the negativity, it's very, very powerful. And and you will heal.
Can you show the Zyto cradle, because you haven't? So how is this administered? How do you do this?
So this is, now if you're doing it virtually, we have people come into the office and do it here with our practitioners, but if you do it virtually, you would get
you send that to them.
Send this to them. You have to have a laptop, and it can't be a Mac. It has to be a PC. And then you connect to us through the internet. And so we run the test. You just connect this to your laptop, put your hand on the cradle. It's biofeedback. So it's sending information into your body via the central nervous system, and it's measuring your body's response. So if I'm checking your organs and glands, it's sending the frequencies from very diseased organs and glands to very healthy organs and glands, and it's measuring the frequency of yours to match with the frequencies that's in the database. So if you have a fatty liver, it's going to come back as inflamed at a pretty high level, okay? Like the DR number, the number value given to it, maybe at a 50. That tells me that you have congestion, inflammation, it's acute in the liver. If it comes back negative, a high negative, that would be a chronic weakness. And so a lot of dysfunction due to toxicity, usually long-term. So
we did a class, you and I, where you went through the Zyto. So I want you to go check it out. Go to whenyouneedafriend.com. While you're there, please become a subscriber and like and follow all my social media, especially BitChute. I'm trying to get that up so that you always know where you can go to if they start censoring even more. And while you're there, check out my sponsors, like this beautiful woman that's in front of us that we're learning so much from. Dr. Jennifer Gramith is the founder of Rightway Health and Wellness. And that's where you can go to. You don't even have to go there. You can do it via telemedicine or phone call. They're in Woodstock, Georgia. For some reason, we have a lot of people from Georgia listening to the class. We have people from all over the world. And so I want to encourage you guys to drive there if you want to, but that's the phone number is 404-474-2100, 474-2100. And so we have, doctors who have taken a stand and said, we believe, or people that believe in what we're doing, and take, can you imagine being your own MD, being your own medical detective, as Dr. Gramith is talking about, that you can stop the nonsense of listening to the world and how the latest pill has come out. You can take a pill, you can take responsibility. That means ownership. That means empowerment. That means freedom. Are you ready for that? We'll see. We'll see. So other sponsors as well as Keep Me Safe Organics, worldwide, and you can get discounts and coupons from all. You get a 20% off discount for Dr. Gramith if you go to rightwayhealthandwellness.com. And the Zyto test you can do from the privacy of your own home, and that is a $295 test, but that includes your consultation, right, Dr. Gramith?
Yes.
And so you get 20% off of that because you listened to the classroom today. So are you being called to do this? Do you want to really, really know what's happening with you? Or do you want to continue taking the pill? I would hope not. I would hope that you would want to know. So other sponsors, Keep Me Safe Organics, First Alternative Care for the entire family, telemedicine that includes family practice and dermatology and 3 hours a year, behavioral health counseling. That's $19.99 a month for your entire household. We have the Pharmacy of Merritt Island that's doing compounds, and that's nationwide. You mention my name, you get 20% off there. Geyer Wellness Group, making you as beautiful on the inside as out. Rightway Health and Wellness, as I mentioned before, as I mention every day. And so those are my sponsors. Now, I do have affiliate sponsors like Ground Therapy, which Dr. Gramith loves as well. She has it in her practice. And you're probably stepping on your pad right now, aren't you?
Yep, right here.
I am too. I've got my pad. Yep, that's right. That's right. And then we have Brain Tap, which that's another thing that you have in your clinic.
I love Brain Tap. I think that's a great tool. It's a great tool for people to have at home themselves.
Yeah.
Doing that type of therapy. That's a great way to retrain your brain.
Yes. And if you want to go onto my Shop Now bag, you can get a 15-day free trial, and you can use your own earphones, or you can buy your own headset, whatever it is you want. It's no, it doesn't matter, but the headset is the bomb. And Avazia, microcurrent. So these are all my, and let me remember one of my favorites now is the one that's creating and developing some muscle. These are my BFR bands, B3 bands, B3 science bands, that you can exercise less and build more muscle than when you were exercising as an Olympian. And if you never exercise like an Olympian, then now you can feel like one. So check out my sponsors, check out my affiliate sponsors, and figure out ways that you can sponsor them the way that they're taking a stand for the classroom. And you, last but not least, can become an enrolled student in the classroom, donate $1 to $1,000 a month, or donate your time, your talent, your treasure by texting and sharing this class with other people, and helping us grow the classroom. So today we're talking with Dr. Jennifer Gramith of Rightway Health and Wellness, because there is a right way to get well. There is a right way to get well, and there's also a wrong way to get well. And the wrong way to get well is giving your power away. And what I love about Dr. Gramith is that she sits with you, she listens to you. This is not a 7-minute consultation. This is explain the process of the Zyto. If somebody wanted to pay for this and do this process with you, explain how that would work. How does it look?
So they will get the Zyto testing, typically takes 45 minutes to an hour. I get the data from that is sent to me, and I go over that. I create a video interpretation, which is sent to the client, and it's about a 30-minute interpretation of page by page what the Zyto means and what I'm recommending. And then once they have a chance to review that, they sit down for a 30-minute consult with me ask me any questions or to explain any concerns that they have, or if I have further questions based upon the results of the Zyto or any other recommendations for other type of testing, we will discuss that at that time. And then it's designed to really take the stress out of the whole process, because it can be very overwhelming. And I am very aware of that, I'm asking you to change your lifestyle, but I'm asking you to change your lifestyle because I want the best life for you. And so, I know it's difficult. We get stuck in habits, but my goal is to help people to reach their optimal level of living, both mind, body, and spirit, and to have complete joy in their life and not be, I don't believe that God wants us to be sick, and I don't think, I think that we have all the power inside us to prevent it. And so, but I think it is a very complex approach. It's not just one, it's not taking supplements, it's not just changing your diet, and it's not just changing your mindset. It is all three, and they are very crucial if you truly want health and you want to prevent disease and you want to have a great life. And I believe that with all my heart. And I want that for anyone that I know and love.
Absolutely. And I want to challenge all of you to consider going to the New Truth series, I Am the Solution. That's April 16th, 17th, and 18th. Starts Friday at 6 and it ends Sunday at 6. And we, of course, have breaks and a lot of potty breaks. But, to dive in and say, I want to love myself so much that I'm going to spend the time getting to know who I am, because many of us are compartmentalizations of all the different people that have told us who we think we need to be, of all the lies that we've been taught. And when you go through this process and when you go and you sit down with Dr. Gramith and you learn about, well, could this be it? Would it be nice if I knew I could find gold digging right here? And someone told me you can start right here and find gold. Why would I try to venture off and figure out a different place where I can just dig and maybe find gold, or maybe that'll lead me there? Who is it? Napoleon Hill tells the story in the Think and Grow Rich about a man who knew that there would be gold in a certain place, and he bought the land, bought a bunch of stuff. The story is like so far away from my brain right now, but he stopped, and somebody who knew more about what he had done was able to buy purchase the land even cheaper than he got it, because he had given up. But he knew that what he had seen and what he saw the other person do, that if he just dug in just a little bit deeper, he would find the gold. And he did. And he did. This was a story that was in Think and Grow Rich, which I interviewed the grandson of Napoleon Hill. And it's just amazing how when we open our mind, the truths that appear. And so I love the fact that you're doing this. I love the fact that God has brought you into my life, because when you talk about the biochemistry of the body, or the biofeedback, and how our body and our mind and our gut and our spirit are all interconnected, and how our thoughts can create that inflammatory response, add on top of that sugar, add on top of that stress, add on top of that, and it's no wonder we're alive.
Yeah, it's a miracle. Yeah, I love your gold story, because I was just doing some research, and I realized that we all have gold in us. If you extracted the blood of 40,000 people, you could extract the gold from that blood and make a 8-ounce gold coin with it. So isn't that amazing that we're all looking for that gold, that treasure, and it is right inside our body. And so that's a beautiful thing. I'm glad you brought that up. But.
Wow. Well, I know you have a little bit of time to discuss because we have some questions, and oh, hey, Marlene. She's saying she's on taking a peek at our friend here, Jennifer. So I want to encourage you to write questions. If you have a pain in your body, we're going to talk about that after the class. So you got your book handy, but I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com if you want to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, click on the sponsors page. You have Rightway Health and Wellness. You can just click there, go straight to Dr. Gramith. Rightway Health and Wellness. She is doing the Zyto. $295 is what it costs, but you get a lot of time with her. You get a lot of explanation. It's like hitting that gold mine at that moment, and you don't have to dig around and try to find where could it be? It gives you a clear map. It's just like having a puzzle with the actual lid cover where you can see, okay, well, this is where it goes, right, Dr. Gramith?
Right, exactly.
So it's $295, but you get 20% off of that. And if you want anything from her store, you get 20% off of that. Share a little bit about your store, a little bit about what is it that you normally carry in your store, if they were interested in it.
Right. So I do have some of my own products that I use, Dr. Jen's Amino Blend, because it's a very strong antimicrobial. And so we're always trying to knock down the microbial loads in the body. Most of the things that I carry in the pharmacy is going to be, things that you can't get over the counter, that has to come from a practitioner recommendation. Mm-hmm. And so in order to do that, all you need to do is set up a consult. You can talk to myself. I have 2 other practitioners that are fabulous, and they all bring their own skills in. One is another naturopath, and another one is a physical therapist with a PhD in functional medicine. So they are part of my team. So it's not just me now, thank goodness.
Yeah, you have a great team.
I have a team. I have an excellent team. I have excellent practitioners here that you have met that really help. And so the products that I pull are the products that I have tried and tested and used for extended periods of time that work on the mass majority. And so, but I don't do a cookie cutter approach at all. So, you may have breast cancer, but you may have a complete, total different protocol from the other breast cancer, because we want to meet your needs. We have to get to your root of the problem, whether it's emotional or environmental or a combination of both. Mm-hmm. And we will address it, specifically to meet your needs. Yeah. And so, because I don't want to be another cookie cutter, clinic.
You are not.
And I want to meet people where they're at. And so, any progress is great. I'm always going to give you the optimal program to meet your needs the quickest. But, if that's not doable at that time, I think any changes would benefit you, and we can baby step it out. And so, we're going to love on our clients. We're going to educate them. We're going to help them to realize that they're not a victim. They don't have to be, that they have the choice. We're going to give them the tools that they need to be able to conquer any disease process. And we're going to walk with them. We're not going to lead them and drag them along. We're going to walk beside them and just walk down this journey hand in hand, praying for one another and encouraging one another, because I think that's truly how we should do medicine.
And I absolutely love your approach. Rightway Health and Wellness, Woodstock, Georgia, but you're only a phone call away, 404-474-2100. I tell you, I am so grateful, not only that you have become a sponsor, but that God has brought us together as friends. I mean, isn't it amazing how when you pray for good quality people to surround you, look what happens. Yep. Look what happens. And so I want to encourage all of you to be your own medical detective, be your own MD. and, and figure out what is my body. Don't ignore the symptoms and don't call it a diagnosis. Just look at what's going on within your body and say, okay, now I know where to go to when I need to find out more truths. So thank you, Dr. Jennifer Gramith, for everything that you're doing. Remember, let them know that you heard them from our class so that you can get 20% off any purchase that you do. And I hope you will consider getting the Zyto test for yourself. Thank you so much, Dr. Gramith. We're going to continue our conversation with our Teacher's Pet Corner. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Dr. Jennifer Gramith wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. Good job. Here we go. We got your questions. We're going to be answering it now.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay, so do you have your book handy? I'm sure you have all this because Dr. Michelle Lamassa Dawson is a very good friend, not only of Dr. Jennifer, but they've been friends forever, but I just love her too. And she's been in the classroom. So if you want to learn more about recall healing, we've done a lot of classes. What I find I'm just so excited about all the free content that we have. But if you want to step it up a notch and you want to get shot out of a cannon that weekend, April 16th, 17th, and 18th, I want to encourage you to join us at the I Am the Solution, where you will learn about your brain, how your body works, how to have a closer relationship with a higher power, and become the solution in your own life and not wait for anybody else. So we have some questions. First of all, the first thing that I saw was Sheila. She says she has right hip pain.
Okay. Right hip pain.
Right hip pain.
Well, the hips have a lot to do with security. And so when you have pain and inflammation in there, you have to think about what is it that I am inflamed about, angry about. And so a lot of times on the right side, if you're right-handed, that has to do with your male. And so now if you're left-handed and it's on the right side, then it's self and it's female. But the right hip typically is maybe you're just disjointed in knowing which direction to go to. So it has something to do with walking and, or that your security, has been kind of just pulled out from under you. I see this a lot too. And I don't know her situation, but I see a lot of pelvic inflammation, but it's usually in the pelvic floor when it has to do with rape or, someone has been attacked. So, and that's your body's trying to protect you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Does that make,
let us know, Sheila, if that makes sense. Maybe you can add a little bit more if you'd like, or you can text me privately at 407-373-5959. And Jessica says that this is wonderful information. Thank you for sharing your hearts and knowledge. That is basically what you're hearing because you're ready to hear it. Some people listen to this and go, this is nonsense. This is nonsense. I'd rather take the pill, because you're not ready to take ownership. And the word responsibility you'll learn in the workshop is a totally different meaning, has a totally different meaning. So we do have a question by Juliana. So I'm sure she's been waiting. I don't know if you're still there, Juliana, but thank you for being patient. She says, I've read that breast cancer can be caused by problematic relationships, and this can manifest in tumors. Can you speak to this and how can we release our negative emotions? Oh, you need to go to I Am the Solution to open up our energy channels and allow the body to start healing. Lillian, you are so great. Love this program. Truly one of the very few that that are worth following. Thank you so much. I hope you're going to the I Am the Solution now. So, thank you so much for all that you do and what you bring. Let me see. I got click awareness to those seeking. Well, thank you, Juliana. I'm glad that you're watching. So, what would you like to say about this great work that was started by Dr. Hammer, Hans,
Hummer, yeah,
Hummer.
he's amazing.
Yeah.
With breast cancer, because that's something that I see quite often, there's always that strong feeling of inner guilt. And so depending, again, right side typically is the male side. So that could be relationships with husband, father. Left side, typically self-worth, self-love, or lack of it,
Or female,
relationships, or female,
yeah.
or our children as well. So the nurturing side of it too. And so you really need to ask yourself, what is it that I feel guilt from, and whether and a lot of times this is just your perception. It may not be, that someone's trying to make you feel guilty about something. Sometimes it is, but you are in control of only how you perceive things. And there was a great course that I took. His name was Chip, and I can't remember his last name right off the bat, but he talks about living inside your hula hoop. You only have control of what's in your hula hoop. And so what happens, and where there's conflict, is when we're trying to get from someone what we need. So we're trying to get into their hula hoop to get them to give us what we need. And so it really, his whole course is talking about how, God will meet all of our needs, and that we need to realize that, and not to put that pressure and stress on others.
Yeah.
And women, our breast is how we nurture. And so if we feel like we're, not nurturing the way that they need, or we feel that we're lacking, definitely tumors can manifest from that.
Yeah.
So breast cancer is huge. And I have seen statistically it's growing in younger and younger ages. From 17 to 30 is at the highest levels of breast cancer today. And it used to be just, when you're over 40 and hormones, but there's so much more to that. And I think because there's so much more emotional trauma and identity crisis in the community. And in this younger generation doesn't know what to do with that. They don't know how to help. They take no responsibility. And that's our fault. It's not their fault, because they were just born into this world where we're trying to put off our responsibility to our doctors or to someone else. And we don't want to take responsibility for ourselves. And so we've lost our identity in that, and we become victims. And that's not where any of us want to be or need to be if you want optimal health.
Mm-hmm. John Gray was in the classroom. I don't know if you saw that one, but John Gray was in the classroom, and I had one of my greatest aha moments last year when he said this, because we were talking about dealing with loss and grief, and his wife had passed away, and the first time he came into the classroom, he was grieving out loud. I mean, basically when he was talking, it wasn't the topic really that we were going to talk about. So the next time he came back, we had this, okay, let's really talk about how to grieve and how to let go of loved ones, and because you don't have to die to let go of somebody's loved one. Sometimes these relationships can be so toxic. And he said something, because as a life coach, I have found it difficult when somebody's in a victim mentality to get them to see anything other than themselves in their victimization. Mm-hmm. And so John said, well, Lily, because we were talking about how endorphins are released. I think if it's endorphins, that when, when you exercise, it's endorphins that get released, right? So yeah. So these endorphins, that when you are a victim, it releases endorphins too.
Right.
Because you get a payoff, you get the sympathy, you get people doing things for you. And all of a sudden you find a payoff in this. Mm-hmm. It really, that's why, until they're willing to get rid of that and find their worth somewhere else, or that endorphin somewhere else, they're going to hang on to that victimization. Right. That was just so magical to learn, and someone who's going through victimization, thinking that the world is against them, and Eeyore syndrome, perhaps maybe knowing that that they're feeding from this will make them want to take that ownership and say, oh, I don't want this for myself. I want to be empowered. Who
Right.
wants to be a victim?
No, exactly. And that, and it is an addiction, because it is that chemical release. It's just like any drug that you would take that you can become addicted to. You're so used to that constant, and you're not even aware of it. And so, they get stuck in that rut, and they can't get out of that loop on their own until they become educated and they become mindful of what is truly going on in their body. And once that happens, and then they start to say, hey, oh, nope, can't do that, can't go there. And they start to reprogram their mind, they don't get well. And so it's a very serious thing. And I know it's very frustrating for us, because we know exactly what to do to help them, but trying to get them out of that rut.
That's right.
The thing that I have found is to do the brain retraining. That's why I started the brain tapping, the EVOX, the emotion code, because it's different for, people resonate with different techniques. And so I want to have as many of those tools in my toolbox so that I can teach it to the client so that they can help themselves. And that is, the mindset, and what you said earlier about, it's the mindset, and then, you're eating sugar. Well, you're eating sugar and you're eating all the things that we know that is not good for us, because we don't value ourselves. And so it goes right back down to that emotional component. And so, why do you not exercise when you know that, exercise helps knock down inflammation and cortisol levels? You feel better. You don't have obesity. You're less likely to have disease. We all know that. Unless you live underground, you know that. But why is it that we don't do that? And it goes back to the negative belief patterns that we have that could be inherited trapped emotions. Mom may have really struggled with herself during pregnancy, or if you studied any under Dr. Schrader, you know that it can go 9 months before pregnancy, and that negative emotion is passed down to that baby to finish the business, and to fix the mama. And so our kids carry a lot of our crap, our garbage, and we need to free them of that. And so when you become emotionally aware of it, you not only free yourself, but you free that burden off of your children. And Beautiful. It is remarkable. And, I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it and hadn't experienced it myself, of how powerful that is. And so Dr. Cowden had been trying to get me for years to do recall healing, and just like everybody else, I didn't want to deal with the emotional, part of it. And I just but then it kept coming in, and I kept having patient after patient after patient that really needed that component. And I thought, well, I'm going to take a look at it. And that's when I met Dr. Schrader, and she got on stage, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what I need.
That's
and
right.
It was a beautiful.
It's amazing when the student is ready, the teacher appears, doesn't it? You heard it 1,000 times, but you needed to listen to that moment. Okay, so we have some more questions now. Della, Della, I don't know if you know this, but we did a detox, a juicing detox with Dr. Gramith, and you can find that in my YouTube playlist for that. But she's looking for a good detox cleanse. She said, I saw an interview with Dr. Jennifer where she talked about juice cleanse. Oh, okay. Yes. Well, maybe okay. So would you like to elaborate a little bit about that?
So juice cleansing is a great way to rapidly get rid of the toxins in the body, clean out. And now it depends on the type of juice cleanse you're doing in the period. But typically I do a 30-day juice cleanse, and where I will have nothing but juice and water for the 30 days. And it'll cleanse every system of the body. It'll help balance my hormones. And so I do that for mental health and physical health, to just get rid of the toxins that have accumulated over the last 6 months. And so instead of having to do lots and lots of supplements, I do incorporate a lot of juicing, because study shows that we need 12 to 15 servings of fruits and vegetables a day in order to get the critical micronutrients our body needs to function well. And that's with anything that you're trying to take care of. You're going to put the best quality materials, raw materials in the body or in the car or whatever, and for it to run properly. It only makes sense to do the same thing for us. It has to be organic, because otherwise you're just getting a huge amount of pesticides, and you can really cause some major damage in your body with that amount of glyphosate and things like that. So it has to be organic, but I highly recommend people to get in the habit of juice fasting, water fasting. Fasting in general is good. It clears the mind, it balances the hormones, it heals the gut, it boosts the immune system. It's a win-win situation. So
that was fun. It was fun, and being able to see you every day, that was a lot of fun as well. Okay, so we have a question from Vera, and she says, I have both hip and knee pain, both sides. My mother has the same.
Yeah.
Can you comment on the emotional aspect? Just had Zyto tests with Jennifer. Oh gosh, she just had the Zyto with you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so would you like to comment on that, Dr. Jennifer?
So again, hip and anything below the waist, that much inflammation, a lot of times has to do with feeling like you're stuck in a situation. You don't know which way to go, but it has a lot to do with stubbornness. I believe Dr. Schrader is excellent at, getting into the great details about that. But inflammation always is something you're angry about, something that's gone unresolved. And so you want to think about that. What is it in my life that really, makes me angry? And I'm just going to bear down, and I'm just not going to move. And that's why you have the pain and inflammation, because you don't know what to do with it. You don't know which direction. And so what I would suggest, Vera, to do is when you feel that pain, you do that technique, that Annie Hopper, because this is something simple you can do at home, where you say, nope, stop, stop, stop. My brain is stuck in a rut. It's sending my body false messages. In the past, I would respond with pain and inflammation in my hips and my leg. But today, I choose a new path. I choose a path of health and vitality, pain-free. And I can go in any direction that I want to go. I don't have to live in the stubbornness. And then when you feel it again, say it again, say it again, say it again, until the pain subsides, which is
rewrite the program.
Quickly. Yep. Yeah. Rewrite the program.
Rewrite the program. That's what, I had asked, the first time I interviewed Bruce Lipton, I had asked him that question, because when I started learning about the mind and how the mind works, and he was saying that, that we're really, using 10% of our brain. And I'm like, well, how can we, or actually maybe less, some people less, 5%. And I said, well, how can we expand? Because when you're when you're conscious of what you're doing, you're in that 10. That's why we dance. That's why we dance when we get started. It's to be in the present moment. And so I'm thinking that if you become more aware, more present, your mind will expand. And he said, no, what you need to do is the subconscious mind, which is the first 7 years of your life that are just recorded in your brain. Then what you need to do is you need to rewrite the lies. You need to rewrite the program by, like you said, stop it and then just learn the new truth about it. That's why it's the New Truth series. And so learning a new truth, but you're not going to learn the truth until you're ready, until you put yourself and say, I am going to stop believing the lies. And I believe that I am worth this. And, people who have problems with releasing weight, staying, true to what they want, sabotaging themselves. Those are all things that you can solve so quickly once you learn why you're doing it. Wouldn't you agree to that?
Yes, most definitely. That is definitely true. And with the deep bone pain too, that's a very deep emotional anguish. And so, and again, it's typically around security and direction of life. And, but no, I think that's so true. There's so many programs that we are unaware of. I see it every time I do a Zyto test on a new client. And they're like, because it'll show up as negative to be the ones that are more subconscious, inherited, trapped emotions. And what they don't realize, they think that if they don't know about it, that it's not creating any issues, but it's creating a lot of issues, a lot of inflammation, a lot of weakness in organs and glands. I mean, your liver is the seat of anger. Your gallbladder is the seat of resentment. Your kidneys, the seat of fear. And you may not have the conscious trauma that you know about. It may be something mom, dad, or grandparents went through, and you wonder why do I get so anxious every time someone around yells, or, I don't have a reason to feel like that, but it wasn't your issue, but you still have the same weakness in the conflict in the body as if it was yours. So you do need to become mindful of that. And that's pretty much most of the battle, is just becoming mindful. Oh, okay, there is something there. Where is it coming from? Mom, dad, I'm going to release it. You consciously release that, and then the inflammation comes out of the organ and gland, the dysfunction corrects itself, like thyroid issues. Every client that I have ever seen with thyroid issues has a problem with speaking up for themselves, and really how they feel about something. So they feel like they have to swallow it down. It gets stuck in the thyroid. It's like you're getting choked on your own emotion.
Yeah.
And then, they have dysfunction. And so, it doesn't, you can give them thyroid supplements all day long, and it may have a little bit, but you've not gotten to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is speaking up. I had a client with lymphoma, and he had 2 masses on the side of his neck. He never spoke for himself. The first interview that I had, the consult, it was family members and him. Everybody talked but him. And I knew right then, what the issue was.
That was a lot of emotion, just packing up and packing up. Yeah.
He's a 20-something-year-old, beautiful man, wonderful person, probably the sweetest person I have ever met. Family sweet, well-meaning, but he is a people pleaser. And so he just didn't want to upset anyone. So he just didn't say anything. And didn't even realize it, until it was brought to his attention. And once you deal with that, it was amazing how quickly he recovered from that. It was, within just months, and not, 6 to 8 months. It was like 2 to 3 months and completely gone. And he's been in remission ever since. So,
wow.
They can be as simple as dealing with the emotion.
Yeah. So if somebody, because I know that your time is precious too, and I know that this is your lunch break, and you're giving it freely to.
Juicing, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, you're juicing. Oh, okay. I was going to ask you when's going to be our next cleanse, but if somebody were to just tune in right now and they just, I'm at the end of the class, or it's still going on, I want to tune in right now. What would you say the overall theme of today's class would be? And what's the hope that we can provide, the solution that we could provide?
So the overall theme of today's class is really to listen to your own body, and to listen and to sit with the areas in the body where you feel pain, inflammation, dysfunction, and then just start researching for yourself. And you can use, my staff. You can get in touch with Dr. Schrader, who does one-on-one consults for people with all the emotional health issues. There's classes that are taught, but I just encourage the listeners to learn what those signals, those body signals mean. We have them for a reason. It's our friend. It's our best friend. Your body is your best friend. And, when you feel pain, or you feel a twinge here, or you get a headache, what is your body trying to tell you? It is trying to help you. It's not your enemy. You need to love it. You need to accept it as it is your best friend, as your best advocate. It's telling you exactly what's wrong with your body and exactly how to correct it. And so I think I would, encourage you to just start researching, get with a functional practitioner, know yourself inside out. It's easy to do. It's not expensive. You don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. You can do things like the Zyto. You can go and have a, $100 lab test done, and you will know with utmost confidence that you are in the right track, or if you're not, you'll know how to get where you want to be and live that optimal life. And so it is all in your hands. It's all in my hands to take care of my body. It's all in your hands, Lillian, to take care of yours. We've got to stop, putting our practitioners as if they're God. I think that's a problem that we have created in mainstream medicine, is that, the doctors know everything. Well, they can't know everything, and they don't have the time. And it's not that their heart is not there. They become doctors because they have a passion to love and to help people, but they only know what they know, and they only have time for so much
7
research
minutes
on each, person. I find that with my, patients as well. And that's why I hired 2 new practitioners, because those very complicated cases that need, 10 hours of my time, if I am booked up back-to-back appointments, I can't do that. And that bothers me, because I want to spend the time that I need to spend with every client that needs that time with me. And so that's why I've looked and, set up my practice the way that it is, so I can be able to do that and really help them and benefit them in the way that will change and transform not just their life, but the life of their loved ones and their children and family members. So that's what, I would suggest. Become your own doctor, become your own medical detective, become your own psychologist. Not that you don't need, help and teachers. That's what we're here for. We're here to help teach you these things, but don't rely on us to figure it all out. Learn these things yourself. Like I said, you will save yourself a ton of money preventing disease and learning how to take care of your body yourself than relying on someone like me or your doctor to do it for you. And so that's my encouragement to all of you guys, because I love you and I want you to live the best life ever.
I love it. I love it. And speaking of Dr. Cowden, who we both love, Dr. Cowden came into the classroom and he said, and it was just so powerful, that when you work from the spirit, if you try to work from the body, if you want to fix the body, it could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
But if you start with the mind, with the spirit and those thoughts and all those, once you figure that out, healing is cheap.
Right. Exactly.
It was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
Well, I do encourage you. This is a free book. And
what?
So this oncologist wrote this book, and you can download.
What's their name? Let's have them on the show.
Yeah, it's a female. It's Healing Begins with Sanctification of the Heart. No Disease is Incurable, by Dr. Strydom.
How do you spell that?
Strydom. And it's Eagles Wings Ministry. You can go to www.eagleswings.co.zw.
Where's that at? Where's she from?
Zimbabwe.
Oh my goodness. Does she speak English?
I believe, I'm not really sure, but I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's all in English. So.
Oh my goodness. That's wonderful information.
But this is, from an oncologist, and it's beautiful. Like I said, it has the emotional, the spiritual, and the science behind it. You can download it, print it off yourself. You can take it to a printer and have them do it, but you can't sell these. She just wants people to have them. It's a free gift. that they give, in that ministry. And I think it's beautiful.
I will check it out for sure. And
Yeah.
maybe we can have her on in the classroom because, that reminds me of Dr. Lorraine Day. Some of her books, I mean, her books are just so, her last book is 8 by 10 and about this thick.
Yeah.
And, and it's all about, she's doing this. She wants people to be aware of what's going on in the world, but the ultimate goal is to get right with God.
Right.
Because if God ordains it, no one can stop it.
Exactly.
And if God doesn't ordain it, no one can make it happen.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's wonderful that once you learn these truths, and I was reading a meditation and it's almost like, and the picture I had is like, God gives you an envelope.
Mm-hmm.
And until you're willing to open it up and look in the envelope, you won't be able to discover what's in the envelope.
Right.
Now, some people say, well, it's scary, or, and this is what we talk about, the mindset. It's going to be painful. I don't want to go there. And when you open and you learn about what it is, you realize, oh, wow, this is interesting. What else is out there? Then you open another envelope and you can't open the next envelope until you open the first one or the second one or the third one. And it's beautiful and how it works that way. Look at how many times Dr. Cowden said, recall healing, recall healing, recall healing. And next thing you know, all the students are like coming up in front of you, and then you needed to become the teacher.
Right.
So it's beautiful the way, and when you start looking at your life with this beauty, like, yeah, maybe this was painful, but look at the blessing that came out of it. Sometimes people don't go back to the tomb. And that's what I talk about. Like when Mary goes back to the tomb and finds that the Jesus resurrected, had she not gone to the tomb, nobody would have known.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, sometimes we need to revisit our tomb.
Right. Exactly. Yeah,
so that we can see the resurrection. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, I hope that this has been a wonderful time for all of you and that you've learned so much with Dr. Jennifer Gramith. Again, Rightway Health and Wellness. They're in Woodstock, Georgia, but they're only a phone call away. So you can call 404-474-2100, or you can email them. You can go to the website at rightwayhealthandwellness.com. and reach out to them that way too. Check out the store. Make sure you let them know that you saw them here so that she can give you 20% off. That's so generous of you.
Yes, thank you.
And please remember the Zyto, that's a tool. Because if Dr. Jennifer only had a hammer in her toolbox, you would all look like nails. So
that's right.
You don't look like a nail to her. She has lots of tools in her toolbox. So take advantage of her research and her passion to help people heal. So that's it for now, unless there's anything you want to say, Dr. Gramith?
That's it.
No. Okay. So we will see you, and I hope that you will choose to heal in a natural and healthy way and trust the process, trust God that this is all planned for the good of all, not just for you, but for the good of all. So we will see you soon. Take care. Say goodbye, Dr. Gramith.